No.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We're supposed to have started with the music, but we're not. There you are. There it is. The music was supposed to sort of bring us in here. You're going to hear my dulcet tones any minute now. That's me. Caress the trees tenderly. I'm going to now slowly wind it up. We just thought you'd like a little music. There I am again, see. I actually recorded that song for my daughter years ago. Not that many years ago, actually, but a few years ago. For her to have, you know, after I'm gone. And of course now, not only is it for my daughter, it is also for my grandson. The music is tenderly. If you remember, those of you who were around when we had the competition last year, that was one of the questions. The music is that the song is tenderly, and who is the singer? The question was in the competition. The singer is moi. All right. So today is first of all, we're going to say good morning to Gregor. It's difficult for me this because I've already said good morning to him, but we're going to say good morning to him and welcome to this little show of ours. Gregor is standing to my right side, and we have Carolyn. Say good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Carolyn.
She says it every time. So Carolyn is my assistant for those of you who are here for the first time, and Carolyn is the one who processes all of your questions. She sort of, you know, looks through to see what people are interested in. Talking of questions, I will say at the beginning of this show, if you have a question and you are here live with us, you can go to the bottom right-hand corner, and I think you click chat. Is that right, Carolyn? Yes, you click chat, and then you can actually put your question in, and Carolyn is by my side, and she's fielding all of those questions, and she'll be replying, or she'll be giving me the questions as we go along today. All right, today we're talking about cooking. Do you believe that? Is that true? Are we going to be talking about cooking? We are actually going to be talking a little bit about cooking, because most of you who know me know that we do have a Rosemary in the Kitchen slot somewhere around on YouTube, and there are a few videos, not as many as we would like. We're going to get more of them once we've finished with Soul Signs, which we're still working on, because we're loving every minute of it. We just don't want to let it go. We think we're like, what are we, 2/3 of the way through the final edits?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So hopefully next week. I know I said it last week, but hopefully next week. Anyway, that's as much as I'm going to say about that. We're going to be doing more Rosemary in the Kitchen slots, but those of you who know me and who've watched this show before know that, yes, I do love cooking, and I am somewhat, I can't say famous, maybe infamous, but I am somewhat known in certain circles, in certain areas, for my cooking skills. I like to take a recipe and I like to make it my own. I've never ever yet had a recipe that I've looked at, and this shows you what a huge ego I really must have, because I look at a recipe and I think, I wonder if I added a bit of this or took a bit of that away and put a bit of this in. So I like to experiment and make recipes my own, because obviously I think I can do better than everyone else. Now, it really isn't a question of doing better than everyone else or thinking that I can do better than everyone else. It's more a question of making it mine because of my taste buds and the way I like to taste things, which may not be the way other people like to taste things. This is why recipes work for some people and they don't work for other people. So I have this great chocolate cake recipe, which Deborah,
and she's with us,
and I'm waiting. I still don't know whether that was, I've yet to know whether it was an amazing chocolate cake or not. But anyway, I have this, what I love, because this is the most favorite. I'm not a cake eater, but this is my most favorite chocolate cake recipe, because it's so moist and delicious and it has all good things in it, and so on. So, but somebody else might think it too moist. Somebody else might think it's not quite, you know, right, or it doesn't taste quite right for them. I always add a little espresso in mine, just a little bit. And yes, the recipe is coming out, and if you want it, just email us and we'll send it to you. But you know, some people don't like that. Some people prefer something else. So a recipe, yes, there is a point to this. The recipe that I use for the chocolate cake is certainly to my taste. I'm not sure yet if it's to Deborah's taste. Anyway, it's certainly to my taste. It's to Carolyn's taste. Yes, you like my chocolate. She loves my chocolate cake, as do many others, but it may not be to yours. Recipes work for some people, but they don't necessarily work for others. Now, our topic today is recipes for life. There are lots of recipes for life, and there are lots of situations where people really need a recipe, but not many people can give a recipe, or not many people know about having a recipe, or have even thought about having a recipe for their life. There are so many situations that, you know, somebody's lost a child, and very well-meaning people will say to them, you know, it'll take time. Well, that's the last thing when you've lost a child, let me tell you, don't ever say that to someone, because if someone said that to me in that situation, I'd want to punch them, and I'm not a violent person. It doesn't help to give platitudes, and it doesn't help to, you know, the sympathy is all well and good, but this is a person's life who's completely shattered, and yes, you'll get over it. That's another thing you never say to someone who's lost a child, because you never get over losing a child. I can tell you that. I can assure you that that is a fact. All right. So, but those are the things people say. You go to a minister or a counselor or what have you, and they'll listen to you, because that's what counselors do. They listen and they try to help you through it. But how many times do you find someone who's able to give you a step-by-step recipe as to what you do when you open your eyes in the morning? What do you do when you get out of bed? What do you do if you can't get out of bed? What do you do if you've got a husband who bullies you? You might love him, but you don't like him. You don't want to divorce him, but what do you do? What do you do? How can you make life better? Or are you making it worse by your attitude, etc.? So there are lots of situations that we need a recipe for life. How can you, for instance, if you're struggling to find someone in your life, let's say you're struggling to find a boyfriend, or you'd like to be married, but it doesn't happen for you, or you can't, what do you do then? What do you do? What are the steps you take to go from being on your own and lonely to being with people, enjoying life and being involved in life? There's a big gap between, and there are so many people who don't know how to bridge that gap. There are so many people in so many situations in life. For instance, what on earth does someone do if they're hooked on a diet? What do they do? It's all very well saying stop eating, you know, but the how of it, how do they do that? And some people need to have their hands held and to be talked through step by step by step, little by little by little, so that they can follow the recipe. And there are these wonderful recipes for life. When people come to see me for consultations, I mean, they come because they want to talk to someone in the spirit world, of course they do, but they also come because there are situations in their lives that they need help with, or they need guidance with, you know. Well, how would it be if I just said to someone, you know, don't worry, give it time, it'll work out, and then I'm done? And they think, okay, and they're happy for that 1 second, they're happy for that 1 minute, until all of a sudden it dawns on them, well, it's all very well saying, you know, give it time, but in the meantime, what do I do in the meantime? How do I live? What steps do I take? How can I make it better while I'm waiting? How can I improve my situation? So recipes for life are really, really important. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm sure that over the next few weeks, we'll be taking certain situations that people have. We'll be taking those situations, and we will be trying to explain to people in the best way we can how they can take the first step, the second step, and so on and so forth, how to produce their own recipe. Remember, with the chocolate cake, I mean, the majority of people who eat my chocolate cake love it, I have to say. There are some who I'm sure don't. There are some who don't like chocolate, so they're never going to taste it anyway. So what do? We have to find a different recipe for them. We have to find a more palatable recipe for them. For instance, if they don't like chocolate cake, maybe they'd like lemon cake. I'm using cooking. I'm using the analogy of the chocolate cake for the, for this recipe. Now, I can remember my daughter talking to my daughter years and years ago about a particular man in her life. There was nothing wrong with this man. He just was not right for her, let's say that. Again, if we use the analogy of cooking and baking and so on, all right, now I love savories much more than I love sweet stuff, but I use the analogy with my daughter. Look, this guy, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a really nice guy. He's a coffee cake. A nice, great coffee cake. Maybe a little dry, maybe a little crumbly, but he's a coffee cake. And the problem with you is, the problem here is not with my daughter, but the problem in the situation is she's not going to be happy with a coffee cake. She wants chocolate cake. She wants something that's rich and dark and warm and makes her emotions work. She doesn't want that coffee cake, which is a little dry. Some people want coffee cake and they end up with seed cake, nasty, bitty. I don't care for seed cake. Spit it out when you get, that stuff. How can we can never turn a person from a chocolate cake into a coffee cake. We can never, ever change a person's innate personality. We can enhance it, or we can make it less than, or we can make it more of. For instance, if you've got a dry chocolate cake, you can always pour sauce over it or cream and it'll make it better. You can always make it a little better, but you can never turn a coffee cake into a chocolate cake and vice versa. You can never, if you're with the wrong man or the wrong woman, that's it. If he's a coffee cake and you're not satisfied with him being a coffee cake, he won't ever become a chocolate cake. You won't ever become a chocolate cake. So you have two choices. You deal with the coffee cake and you look for all the good stuff about that and you make it work, or you ditch him and you move on and try and find a chocolate cake. How do you move on? How do you find your chocolate cake? How do you find that cake that is going to satisfy you? How do you find that relationship that's going to satisfy you? There are recipes. There are things that we can do on a daily basis that we can actually do. There are recipes that we can actually work on so that we can find our happiness in life and our joy in life and a reason for living and a reason for living well. All right, let's see if I've been talking. All right, I'm going to stop talking just for a second here. Do we have any questions so far?
We do.
Any comments? Let's go for that.
We could say hi to Deborah, who you just spoke with yesterday.
Hi, Deborah. I had a great time yesterday. I hope you did.
And her friend Barbara, all the way from Ireland.
Hello, Barbara from Ireland.
Here.
Hi.
Dean, Gabrielle, and Jean.
Hi.
We also have a couple of new people, Ricky and Blanca.
Okay.
Ricky has a question.
Go for it.
It is a life situation, and this is actually pretty much the second time this has been asked today. I am such a fan. From your sorry.
So nice.
From your perspective, why are people born gay? This is a life circumstance I am dealing with, and I would love to understand it from a spiritual perspective. And if you remember correctly, you just received an email.
From the same person?
No, from somebody else.
All right, would you like to, this is Ricky asking this question, right? And could you like to then read the email, Carolyn? Because actually the two emails, the two questions they're slightly different, but in fact, they deal with the same topic. So, okay.
What do you know is the reason for a soul to be in the wrong body? Meaning you are born a boy, but you rather be a girl.
Who do we know who sent that question?
I believe that was Juliet.
Juliet. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, and this, Ricky, I'm really, talking to you now and answering this question for you also. First of all, a soul is never born into the wrong body. God doesn't make those kinds of mistakes, I can assure you. But a soul is born into an environment or placed into an environment on this earth plane that environment, no matter how difficult or how easy, that environment is chosen for that soul. The soul has some participation in the choosing of it, but guided by those who know better, those who are of a higher power, let's say. But the soul is placed into a body, into an environment, because it's not just the physical body that is important, it's the environment in which there are going to be lots of incidents, there are going to be lots of experiences that the soul is going to have through being placed in that particular situation. And it is those situations that are designed, intended, so that the soul will have the chance to grow, to learn, to explore. Now, being born a man but feeling like you're a woman, I mean, that's a tough situation to be in. It's emotionally draining and exhausting, to say the very least. Being born in a, let's say, in a situation that a lot of people don't consider normal. I don't think being gay is anything less than normal. I think it's perfectly normal. I mean, I've got 2 sisters who are gay, and I've got friends who are gay, and I've got a niece who's gay, and on it goes. I mean, I don't think that being born gay is abnormal by any standard. However, there are a lot of people who do think that, and the environment in which we live, I think, not in the last 20 years, say, but prior to that, I mean, in England and perhaps in America too, people were put into prison for being gay. People were ostracized, and even when it became legal, people were still ostracized, and still today in certain areas, people are ostracized for being different than the norm. And you know, all those wonderfully judgmental people who determine that they're normal and the rest of us are not. I mean, look at me, I'm certainly not normal. So, you know, Rick, I mean, I'm getting it here. I don't know whether you feel normal or not normal. To me, you are perfectly normal. There's nothing wrong. However, any struggles that you have had accepting, you know, who you are, what you are, how you are, any struggles, and I've had those struggles. I mean, I'm certainly, even today, I walk into certain places and certain environments, and people know me, or they think they know me anyway. They know what I do, and they whisper behind my back, or they'll say, "Oh, well," I mean, even today, people, you know, say that you know, there are certain people who say I'm a fake. Deborah, I think, can attest to the fact that I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure I'm not fake. But anyway, you know, there are people who are always willing to put someone else down. So being gay is just one of those situations, and you were placed, Rick, in an environment where, you know, life is not easy for you, and or perhaps hasn't been easy for you. Life hasn't been easy for me either, but I think that's a good thing. I feel privileged that I have been so deemed a soul in need of growth, in need of the pain and the trauma and the heartache that I've been through, so that I can grow and so that I can learn. And I feel special because of that, somewhat special. And you should too, darling. You should feel special, because, you know, it's not who you are or what you are that matters. It's how you deal with who you are and what you are. And this is where recipes come in, you know, knowing how to deal, knowing what steps to take, knowing how to take a step by step on a daily basis to dealing with the things that life throws at you. I mean, honestly, if I had to choose personally, you know, to be gay, to be a spiritual medium, because I tell you, people think I'm really crazy, or to be that person in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, I'm happy. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm happy where I am, because there are a lot worse environments for me and for you, Ricky. There are a lot worse environments that we could have been placed in. So, you know, I think, you know, having that pain and heartache is a gift. It is a gift. What did he have a question? What was his question? Got a question. Sorry, darling.
Why are people born gay? Why would a spirit go into the wrong body?
Well, it's not the wrong body. It's not the wrong body. It's exactly the right body. So I think I've answered that question because, again, I will reiterate, when we're born to this earth, we come here for a reason. We come here for a purpose. And that purpose is for our soul to learn and to grow. And unfortunately, one of the most effective ways, and we know this with our children, you know, don't run, you'll fall. They're not going to listen until they run and fall, they hurt themselves, and they don't do it again. Or if they do, they know what the consequences are going to be. So when we are put into this environment, we have to experience, not only do we have to know about pain, we have to experience the pain, because that teaches us and it helps us to grow and it helps us to learn. And I'm sure, darling, in your environment, in your situation, because of the things that you have gone through, and I know this because of the things that you have gone through, you've become a much more empathetic and understanding person. I mean, is that not a gift? It certainly is a gift to me, and I think it should be a gift to you, and you should see it that way.
Ricky would like you to know that your perspective on this is so refreshing. You put a smile on their face. Your fan from Canada.
Oh.
And Blanca also said, great question. I happen to know your thoughts on this today. We all know someone or someone who knows someone who is gay.
Yes, but let's not get stuck in the gay thing. That's just because, you know, whether you're gay, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're crazy, whether you're a spiritual medium, what doesn't matter what it is. If you're a white person who lives in an area where everyone else is black, you're the oddity. You're the unusual one. If you're a gay person in a situation where everybody else is straight, I don't even like that anyway, but let's say straight, because for understanding purposes, then you're the odd one. But if you're in a gay community and a straight person walks in, you're the odd one. I was once invited, I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, but it just reminds me of, I love my stories. I sort of get quite involved with my stories sometimes, but I was once invited into a situation where there were, I think I might have talked about this before, where I was invited to go to talk to a group of transvestites. And so I have to tell you, being as vain as I am, there was no way I could let a man outdo me as far as dressing. There's no way. It was just that there was no way. So I took great pains. I put on my patent high heel shoes and my tight skirt and my, you know, and all that. Got myself all done up, and I thought, right, you know, now whatever I'm presented with, because in my world, transvestites were those people in the theatre who dressed up as women, but they were all glamorous. So I'm going into this thinking everyone else there is going to be so glamorous, I will not be outdone by a man, is what I'm thinking, right? So it didn't matter to me that somebody was a transvestite. I don't care less. If that's what you like to do, that's what you like to do. As long as you don't harm other people doing what you like to do, it's fine. So off I go, and I'm taken into this sort of, it's like a community centre, and it's in a back street. I've never been more shocked in my life, because a lot of the men there were dressed as women, but they needed a designer. They needed me to tell them how to dress, because no, it was not good. They were not the glamorous on stage types. They were simply ordinary men. Lovely men. One was a policeman, one worked in a factory, one was a car salesman, etc. There was a whole variety of people in there, a whole variety of types. You couldn't say that it was a certain type of person. They were all from different walks, and the one thing they all had in common is they liked to dress in women's clothes. Well, what harm is in that then? So I walk in, and I'm the big glamorous one. Not that I was wearing feathers or sequins or anything, but I was the glamour puss, and they all thought that I looked amazing. And in fact, at one point, we all started talking about, you really shouldn't wear that pink with that orange. Don't wear that pink shirt with that pink blouse with that orange skirt, darling. It clashes. They thought I was tremendous. I thought they were tremendous. But, you know, our perception and my perception going in there and never having been into that situation before, going in there, my perception was that everybody else would be glamorous. So fiddle that, I'm going to look my best too. And of course, it was a completely different thing. So you should never ever judge. But in that environment, I was the oddity. I was the odd one. But I have to tell you, these people loved it, that I could just simply accept them and give them makeup tips and help them with their clothes and stuff like that. I mean, why not? And if you're gay or straight, or if you just, whatever you are, it doesn't matter, as long as you live life the best you can and don't hurt anyone else, and just be nice. Just be nice. And if somebody condemns you or looks down on you, believe you me, Rick, I've had it. I've had it all my life. People looking down at me, people thinking that I'm taking advantage. Even, you know, even today, there are people out there who think I take advantage of people who are, you know, who are suffering, especially the loss of a child. They don't know that, you know, I spend hours of my own time not charging, not in many cases. I mean, usually charge. Let's be clear. But I do a lot of work voluntarily, as do many people in my situation, because we're not taking advantage. We're just simply trying to do the best we can do. I always, when I talk to people and have consults with people, I do try to give recipes, because I'm bringing us back now to the topic of the day. I do try to bring recipes into their lives, ways and means for them to actually improve their lives and make their lives work. Do we have another question or another comment even?
Dean wants to, I think we should all meet at Rosemary's house for a picnic, and you can make the chocolate cake.
Dean, you can all come. Look, invitation, open invitation, except you can't just turn up. You have to give me time to bake. Make a great lemon cake as well for anybody who's interested. When my daughter was here a couple of weeks ago, we had duck à l'orange, which is roast up with an orange sauce, and I make the best. I love it. I mean, I love it. It's awful when I can't even go into a restaurant now and enjoy it, because as I'm eating, I'm thinking, it's all right. I can make it better myself. Because you see what an ego I've got here. All right. Any other questions? Anything else that we have here pertaining to the subject?
We had quite a few emails regarding how do you change an abusive relationship? What's the life recipe for that?
Okay. All right. Well, you know, every situation is different. Every situation is different. I'm going to give you a little tip. I'll give you one of my recipes for life. Shall I give you one of my recipes for life? And we may well have done this before on YouTube, but I'm going to give it to you again because it works. There are a lot of people who need a plan, who need, you know, they need to sort of, you know, in 5 years' time, I want this, or in 2 years' time, I'd like to be this, or so on and so forth. And the first time this happened to me, I had a lady come to me, and she, you know, she wanted to turn her life around. She was in an abusive relationship. She was not married. She was in an abusive relationship. She had no money. The guy in the relationship didn't work. I don't want to knock guys, because you can be a man in an abusive relationship just as much as you can be a woman in an abusive relationship. But anyway, this happened to be a woman, and her boyfriend didn't work, and she worked, but he would come in and raid the purse or raid the money drawer or whatever, and he'd take, you know, he'd take what he wanted, and then he'd go off, and then, you know, maybe a week or two later he'd come back and take again and what have you. And I mean, she was in a really tough situation. She had a little boy. She was in a really tough situation. And the tough situation for her was that she did not know. She did not know how to turn her life around. Every time she said to a boyfriend, it's over, every time she shut the door on him, every time she told him not to come back, he would come back. And he had a very strong personality and he had a lot of charm. So he would either charm his way back in or he would bully his way back in to her life. Now, anybody with an ounce of sense or even half an ounce of sense knows that the only way that she's actually really going to change her life is to shut the door and never open it to him again. Easy to say, not so easy to do. And in those circumstances, you know, what do you do? So I'm thinking of another situation as well, which is going to sort of, you know, shock a few people. But anyway, I'll finish with this story first, then I'll tell you the other story. But so I said to her, sat her down and I said, all right, let's make a list. Because when you have a recipe, first of all, you've got to know what you want. And then you've got to know how to, you know, the ingredients and how to make the recipe. So what ingredients go into it? So I said to her, what do you want? So she said, I just want to change my life. So I said, okay, how about being secure, financially secure? She said, yes, I want to be financially secure. So I said, okay, would you say that was at the top of the list? She said, yes. So I said, okay, knowing that any more than $1,000 was going to be a lot for her in her mind to work at, I said, let's put down then on the list, in 2 years' time, let's say, you want $1,000 in the bank. She said, yes. I said, what else do you want then? Well, she wanted to be in a happy and a normal relationship. I said, okay, let's put that down as number 2. Number 3 was her son, etc. And we figured out 4 things that she felt that if she had those 4 things in her life, she could actually start to live and start to survive. So these were the things, these were the ingredients for her that she needed to have her life. These things were the part of the recipe for her life. You know, this is what I want. So I said to her, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go home. And for anyone out there listening, you should do this because it works. Okay? Go home, buy a big board, like a big piece of cardboard, white, and a block of, good, strong coloring pencils or wax crayons or something like that. Okay, you make a border at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches at least around the outside of this board. And then you take your wax crayons and you color in. You can do any design you like. You can do stars and moons and rainbows. You do anything you like, or you can just color it in blocks, but it has to be the brightest and the most beautiful, like rainbow colors. You do not use black. You do not use dark blue. You use only bright, 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 sunny, wonderful colors. Because we all know, as we've talked about this before, we all know that colors are energy. And, you know, we need bright, warm, summer energy around us. So make your border around beautiful and bright. Then think carefully about at least 3 to 4 things, no more. You can have 5 maximum on your list, and think about that list carefully and think about the order of it. What on your list is going to be number 1? It might be $5,000 in the bank. It might be a happy relationship. You might want to be it might be a new house. It could even be a new car. But think about the things that are going to help you. And yes, a car sounds materialistic, but what if you don't have a car and you want a car in order to go to work and earn the money to make your life better, right? So we're not just dealing with things for the sake of having material wealth. We're looking at things that are going to improve our life and make our life worthwhile. So then when you've got your list in order, 1 to 5 max, okay, then you get a black pen or crayon and you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and then across in 1 you put 5,000 in the bank. Number 2, a new car, whatever it is that you want. Number 3, a new house, etc. and etc. Okay, and you put that down in nice big bold letters in the center of this card, then you put it somewhere where you will see it every single day. In a bathroom, in your bedroom, in the hallway, but it's got to be somewhere where a room that you go into every day. Don't shove it into a back room so you never see it. Now, what's going to happen is the same thing that happens with all of the pictures you might have on your wall. You know it's there, but it becomes almost invisible. You sort of walk by it, and every now and again you might actually look at it. You might actually stare at the picture. You might actually see that it's there and love it and value it, and it, you know, reminds you of different, whatever it is, the reason the picture's up there for. But then mostly as you go about your daily life, you'll forget it, except every now and again when you'll stop in front of it and you'll remind yourself. But even though you forget it, even though you walk past it and you don't really see it, your subconscious sees it every single day. Every time you walk by it, your subconscious sees it. So if it's in front of you in your bed when you wake up in the morning, even if you don't see it or consciously see it, your subconscious will see that, and it reminds you every day of what it is that you want out of life. Okay? And then from there, you find the ways and means to achieve the things that you want. Obviously, the recipe for the $5,000 or the $1,000 in the bank, this recipe is so simple. If you want money, you just got to open a bank account. And even if it's only, and I say to people, even if it's only $1 a week, even if it's only 50 cents a week, you make sure that something goes into your bank account every single week without fail, no matter how small an amount. Now, years ago, I did this. I didn't particularly have a goal, but I did this, and it took me, I don't know, so long. I finally managed to get to 1,000. It was £1,000. I finally hit that mark, and the book was shoved over to me, and I looked at it, and it said something like £1,005. And wow, the first thing was, wow, how did I do that? Because the closer I got to that £1,000, the harder it was. You know, sometimes I had to take it out for this, sometimes I had to take some money out for that, and so on. But I finally made it, finally tipped it over. And the first thought I had after, wow, I've done it, was, now for the next 1,000. And then the next 1,000. But in order to do that, you have to pick a day. This is the recipe. Pick a day. Could be a Friday, could be a Thursday, could be, you pick the day, your day. Whichever day you know you're going to be in town or close to a bank. And now you don't even have to be close to a bank. You can write out a check, you can photograph it with your phone into your bank account, and it goes in. You don't even have to get up. So all of those of you who are prepared to make excuses by saying, well, I don't have a car, I can't get up, or I can't do this. No, because if you can't get out, I guarantee you've got a computer or something. You've got a phone that takes a photo, and you can put money into your bank. All you have to do is write yourself a check, put it into the bank, into that savings account, and then leave it there. And you need to do that every week at least, once a week at least, even if it's only $1. And as the amount grows, and as you see it grow, that's your incentive to do more and more. And I guarantee you, and especially if you make your board, and this is your goal, I'll guarantee you within 2 years, you will have that money, and that will be your security. That will be your fallback. That will be the safety. You'll feel good about that. That will make you feel good. That's one little tiny recipe. It's not how do I do it. I'm telling you, this is how you do it. Here's your recipe. The chocolate cake, I get out the flour, I get out the cocoa, I get out the sugar. Well, get out the bank account, get out the checkbook, put the money in, whatever it is you do, right?
And speak up for yourself.
And speak, yes. And
you know.
Exactly. And as Carolyn says, if you've got a husband who says, I'm not giving you 50 cents, take it. It's yours. Take the 50 cents. If you have to do it in secret, do it in secret. I mean, I know there are people in these situations, but where there is a will, there is a way. And if you don't want to take that way, then you don't actually want the recipe. That's the thing. If you don't really want to work at it, you don't really want the chocolate cake then, do you? You don't want to change your life. That's the bottom line.
And change is often difficult, and that's something that a lot of people forget to tell you. Is that change?
Would you like to come in here?
Difficult.
Come on in here, Carolyn. She's. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you. Can I tell them a little tiny bit about
Sure.
you? Okay. So, all right. So, Carolyn is sort of like, you're really serious about this. Carolyn's really serious about this because when Carolyn first met me, can we say, would it be true to say we're in a bit of a mess?
Yes.
Sort of.
Yes.
Emotionally.
Yes.
In your head,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And all sorts of things going on. And Carolyn didn't really know how to deal with a lot of things in her life. Well, working with me, I'm giving her recipes every day. Would you say that's fair?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And so Carolyn has, how long have you been working for me now? 2 years? 2.5. Are you sure it's that half? It's just 2 and a bit. Right. All right. Anyway, she's been working for me now for let's say over 2 years. And I think it's fair to say that you've changed.
For the better.
For the better. Would
Yes.
you say?
Yes.
Okay. So
I believe I came to work a couple of days ago with tears in my eyes and said, I am so glad
it's true.
that through all the pain and agony that
It's
I
true.
had the privilege of meeting you and getting your guidance.
It's true. She got tears in her eyes because she was crying at you. You know that.
A happy cry.
It was a happy cry. And, you know, now, I mean, whereas when you first came to work for me, I think it was fair to say that, you know, probably 3 days out of 4, she'd go home with her head bowed, or she'd have a weight on her shoulders, and you could see there was a lot of pressure, you know, a lot of stuff going on that she had to deal with, that she had to learn to deal with. So when Carolyn sits here and says change is hard, she knows what she's talking about,
Yes.
right? You do
Yes.
know what you're talking about.
Yes.
And change is hard, but I think it's also fair to say, wouldn't you say, Carolyn, that you've got to want a thing. You've got to really want that chocolate cake. You've really got to want it. You've got to be salivating for it, because, and sometimes people are forced into it. Sometimes people end up in a situation. There are a lot of people in prison, for instance, who, you know, they've been stupid. They're, you know, not necessarily bad people. They've just been stupid people, and they've made wrong choices, wrong decisions, and so on. And I think, you know, in those circumstances, in those instances, some people are forced into making that change. Other people are forced into making that change through a life-altering. Maybe they've lost someone important to them. Maybe they've lost a child. Maybe they're sort of going through a divorce or whatever. But there are circumstances which actually give us opportunities. And through the pain and the hurt and the heartache that we go through in our daily lives, we are given opportunities to become more of who we can be. I mean, I know that many people look at me and they see someone who's put together, and, you know, and they think I'm okay. They think I don't need change. They think, you know, they see me and they see someone who's successful. And yes, I am successful, but I'm always ready to learn more. I always want more. I always want to know more. And I always want to, I'm a curious person, which I think is why I'm as good at my job as I am, because, you know, when most people see someone in the spirit world, or they see a, let's call them a ghost. I don't believe in ghosts, as you all know, but let's call them ghosts. Okay, most people, then they're dumbfounded. They don't speak, and then it's gone, and then it's too late to speak. Not me, not me. I see something, and my immediate reaction is, what's that? What's going on there? Who are you? I'm a very nosy, very curious person. And because I'm a curious person, I honestly believe that I'll be learning until I'm on my deathbed, when I'm at least 120 or something like that. I don't intend to die too soon. So I've got a ways to go, but I want to learn. I want to grow. I am curious about life. I'm curious about people. I'm very curious about people. And so, you know, I think if all of us can learn to be curious about ourselves, to learn about ourselves, to know who we are, and be careful when you look at someone and you think, oh, well, they've got it all together. Be careful not to judge. Most of us are used to people judging us for our faults and failings. Be careful not to be the judge of, oh, well, it's all right for her, or it's all right for him, or, you know, she's got a husband, she's got a partner, he's got, well, look at how many cars he's got. They're okay. I have personally experienced tremendous tragedies, heartache and pain of people who are so wealthy, you would think they'd never have an issue or a problem in the world. Money is not going to give you peace of mind. Money is not going to bring you happiness, I can assure you. Money helps to oil the wheels. If you're unhappy or you're miserable and you've got money, you can go on a cruise, you can do what you like, you can buy jewelry, whatever it is that makes you feel happy for that moment. But it doesn't give you inner happiness. It doesn't create a situation whereby any problem comes to you is, you know, you can deal with it and it's over with. So be careful. You know, we know about the people who are judgmental and critical, but be careful that you don't become that person who is judging others because of what you perceive that they have, and that you perceive that they have more than you, because pain can come to anyone, loss can come to anyone. God does not, you know, is not particular. You know, he's not thinking, well, he's rich, so we're going to give him a pass. That's not how it works. By the same token, they don't look at me and think, well, she works for us and she works for the spirit world and she does all this stuff, so we'll give her a pass. No, that's not how it works. None of us get a pass. We all are placed in an environment where we have the opportunity again and again and again to learn and to grow. If you take that opportunity, great. If you don't take that opportunity, well, you know, too bad for you then. But if you don't take the opportunity, it will keep coming at you, and it keep coming at you in different forms, in different ways. If you don't ever take the opportunity, you'll regret it when it's your time to go. You kick yourself, you say, I had all those opportunities to do this or that, or to change me, or to become more of me, and I didn't take those opportunities. Carolyn, I mean, really and truly, I can say Carolyn is one of those people who, and maybe it's because she's got me at her back, maybe it's because I kick her butt every time she walks through the door, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because, yes, she is fortunate and she does have someone she's able to talk to, and she's able to, you know, and I never sugarcoat it with you, do I? No. I mean, I'm not, you know, if she sits here and she's upset about something and she's wrong, I'm going to say, hey, hold on here. No, don't tell me that, because I know that that's not right.
And that really is the best, because I want people that are going to be honest with me, because that's really the only way you can know
learn
the truth and change, if that's what you want to do.
Right. So change is hard, change is tough, but change is worth it. Would you say it's worth it?
Absolutely.
Can you describe in a few words here, because we'd like to talk to other people here. So can you describe in a few words what you were like 2 years ago, your personality and the way you thought, and as to now 2.5 years later?
2 years ago, I was unsure, lacked self-confidence, was afraid of a lot of things, intimidated by a lot of things.
And people.
And people. Oh, yes. Yes. And people. Today, I have a greater understanding that me, myself, and I can stand alone by myself. I don't want to, but I have a greater understanding that I have the capability and the power within myself to do that.
That you're strong enough. That
I am strong enough. Yep. And that if I stick to my convictions that I honestly believe are right, things will fall into place if that's what they're supposed to do.
And it won't necessarily be easy.
No, it's not easy.
But, okay.
Nope.
All right.
I also lost 100 pounds once, and I've obviously gained some back. But, you know, let's just talk about the whole diet, because you didn't mention that in the
I
beginning.
did mention the diet.
I still get I have a picture. You've seen my
Does
picture.
anybody get the feeling that that Carolyn's in charge today? And I'm happy for it. That's fine. Let's go with it then. It's what works for me. Go on.
But, you know, I have
I'm
friends.
an earth sign. I don't mind giving up control as long as I'll take it back in a minute. Trust me.
ma'am.
Go ahead.
But
Sorry.
just last week, I had somebody say, "What do you think about those shakes? I'm thinking about going on a diet." And I said, honestly, as someone who lost 100 pounds and gained half of it back, eat less, move more. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is what everybody truly knows in their heart. If you want a job, you gotta take that first step. If you want to lose weight, you have to take that first step.
If you want a girlfriend, you've got to go out and find one.
Yeah.
I'm just talking to a certain person here who I know. Well, I wasn't going to say his name. You said his name.
Yes, I did. Okay, I'm out of the screen. I'm sure
But basically, what Carolyn is saying, what we're saying here is, you know, and especially with recipes, and it's all very well. Yes, you know, you sit at home and you say, I wish this, or I wish that, or I wish the other. I wish I had a partner. I wish I had someone to share this with. I wish I could watch TV with someone. I mean, I sit on my own every single night. Not every single night, but almost every single night. But I'm not wishing and hoping for things that, you know, if I want to go out, I'll get in the car and I'll go watch the sunset. And guess what? Standing on the beach, watching the sunset, the chances are I'm going to meet someone to chat to. It might be a man, it might be a woman, who knows? It might be Dean one day coming strolling along with a chocolate cake for me along the beach. You never know who you're going to meet, but you won't meet anybody at all if you sit at home and moan and groan and complain about your lot, because that's not going to work.
We do have one question. I'm sorry that
Okay,
I want
no, go ahead.
Marth asks.
Marth?
I
What an interesting name. Hello, Marth.
She says, "What's the recipe to deal with a child who has a drug problem?"
Oh, that's a great question. Excuse me, I've got
Difficult
ice now in my
situation.
mouth. A very difficult situation. Without knowing the full situation, I can't give you a personal recipe, darling. But I can tell you that recently we had a couple here who had a son, and the son was very much into drugs. And it's very difficult in a situation like that, because often it's the environment, it's the friends, it's the people that they, you know, become involved in, who are dragging them to their level, and then they unfortunately have become the people who will drag other people to their level. That's how it works. Short of tying somebody up in chains and putting them in a dark room and not allowing any visitors, you can't change that situation. And if this son is old enough to make his own choices, then he's old enough to make his own choices. And if his choice is to take drugs, as a parent, it's heartbreaking and it's heartrending, but there's not a lot you can do. I'm going to say this because I'm asking Gravel this because I feel that this is important for you to hear. And it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but in this particular circumstance that you're asking about, tough love is the only way. You've got to show as much love as you can, which is hard, because once someone can't use you, can't have the money, can't hold out their hand and you support them and help them, once you tell them you can't live here anymore and you mean it, then you're going to lose them. They're going to go off and they're going to find someone else to use. If you're lucky as a parent, you go find them and you tell them you love them. You make sure that you're not out of their life altogether. You make sure that you keep track of them if you can. You do everything as a parent that you're supposed to do, except to support their habit. And that's why I'm saying tough love, particularly in this case, I think is very, very important. You do everything you can except support their habit. And the one thing loving, caring parents fear, and I'm making that distinction about loving, caring parents because we all know, we don't like it very much, but we all know that lots of parents aren't loving and caring and are much more interested in, you know, doing their own thing. But for loving, caring parents, which the majority of us, thank goodness, are, the one thing, the thing we're most afraid of is that we're going to lose our children, whether we lose them to the spirit world or whether we lose them through drugs or whether we lose them through, you know, them falling in love with a girl and the girl takes them off to her family and all that. I mean, we get all sorts of situations. There are lots of ways to lose your child, and we know as loving, caring parents that the one thing is that we fear the most is to lose our children. But sometimes in certain situations we have to say no. Sometimes in certain situations we have to close the door. We don't close the door on them, we close the door on supporting them in their activity, whatever that is. In this particular case, drugs. We don't make it easy for them, and therefore we lose them. But I've always believed that, and I put my relationship at risk with my daughter. Yes, even me, who seems to have it all together. I mean, when my daughter was, you know, in her late teens and early 20s, oh, she was a nightmare. She never took drugs, but boy, she was a nightmare. And I risked losing her on more than one occasion. I remember the time she walked out with the boyfriend who was very instrumental in encouraging her to, you know, leave me behind because she had him now. And I get it. I know that happens, all right. But she walked out and she said, you know, something like, I'm never going to talk to you again. I'm never going to have anything to do with you again. Now, you can never say that to your child, because I know of instances where a mother in Italy said that to her son. I never want to see you ever again. He went out on his motorbike and within an hour he was dead. She regrets saying that to him ever, you know, I mean, that lady has trauma even to this day for what she said to her son. So we try never to say cruel things. We always try to be kind. When we say no, we're firm, but we're kind. We're gentle, but we're firm. We say no and we mean no. And we risk losing our children. However, when my daughter walked out and said to me, that's it, and you're never coming back here again, etc., I would phone her every single day. Every day, once a day, I would phone her, and I would always get the answer machine, and I would say, it's just me, it's just mum, I love you, just want to say I love you, I hope you're having fun wherever you are, and I put the phone down. And I did this for over a month. And luckily, it didn't last much longer than that, because my child is stubborn, but she's not that stubborn. But I did not miss a day of telling my child, I love you, hope you're okay, just checking in. I would cry when I put the phone down. I would be upset when I put the phone down. I would be heartbroken when I put the phone down. But I was always there for her. So when you say no to drugs, no to money, no to being, you're not using me. You say no, but at the same time, you have to let them know, if you need me, know where I am. If you want me, know where I am. Hope you're having fun. I hope you're okay. I'm just checking in. That sort of thing. Send a card, send a birthday card, send anything, you know, just check in. Check in with them. Even if they ignore you, even if they are mean to you, even if they say awful things to you. As a parent, you have a responsibility. You check in, you face them, you say, I love you. They can spit in your face. You can still say, I love you, and then walk away, and then the next day you do the same thing again. That is my recipe. And if you do that, what you're really doing is, no matter how much it hurts you, it's not the issue. That's not the issue that you're hurt. The issue is trying to do what's best for your child, and your child comes first, should come first, and you're letting your child know, absolutely, 100%, when he's ready or she's ready, if they ever are, when they're ready, you are there for them, and you will welcome them with open arms. And that's the most important thing you have to teach your children. You are always there. You are the one that they can rely on to be always there for you, no matter what. But giving them money and excusing their behavior is only going to make matters worse. I don't know if that helped.
I believe it does. Mark said that it's actually her grandson. He is mean, but they're doing the tough love. It's still hard. It's hard to trust him.
Of course. And, you know, yes, he's mean, but he's sort of like the lion with the thorn in his paw. He's hurting. This kid is hurting. And so he's going to take it out on the people he loves the most, the people who he hopefully knows will never, ever let him down, will always be there for him, never supporting the bad stuff, always letting him know that they're there. And if he's mean to you, it's so hard to do this, but if he's mean, if he's spiteful, you grit your teeth and you smile and you say, well, I love you anyway. You may not love me right now. You may not like me right now. You know what? I don't like you right now, but I still love you. The amount of times I've said that to my daughter, I don't like you at this moment, but I do love you. And I always make sure that she knows that. And that's all we can do, darling. And please let us know how you go on with this. And I'd like to put your grandson's name in our healing book, if we may. So if you like to email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. If you like to email us, we'll put him on our healing list. And please keep us informed, because this is a tough one for you. I have a 4-year-old grandson, and believe you me, I'd give my life for my child or my grandson. I hope I never have to, but if I had to, I would. You know what I mean. All right. Do we have anyone else making a comment or a question here?
No, we have to wrap this up for life situations at the moment, but if you did want to tell the story of Thomas Edison to bring us into our new adventure where you're going to be.
Oh, yes, we forgot. All right, yes, I forgot all about that. Right, this summer, which is in only a few weeks' time, we are hoping, Carolyn and I, we're going to do Rosemary Out and About. So some of our videos, we're going to take the camera out, but we're not quite sure how this is going to work, but we do have 1 or 2 places that we'd like to go visit. Rosemary Out and About, and sort of, if I say ghost hunting, you know what I mean. I'm going to go out and see all these places that have history and supposedly haunted and all the rest of it. And we're going to see if, you know, we can see anything or feel anything. And sometimes we might not feel a thing, but we'll still have a nice chat. And sometimes, well, you never know, we might find some really spooky stuff, some fun stuff. So if you know of a place where there is something to see, or if you think you'd like to invite me somewhere to look at something, I'm not going out of Florida, just so as you know. I'm just staying where I am here for now, anyway, for now. But we're going to be going, Carol and I are going to be going out and about this summer. Not every week, but we'll, you know, we'll let you know, we'll keep you posted, and we're going to be doing a little hunting. So we want you to come with us there to do some of that. I was once at the in Florida, and I think it's south of Fort Myers in Florida. There is a place where Henry Ford had a house and Thomas Edison had a house, and they had houses next to each other. And in this place, I can't even remember what it's called now, but you can go online and look it up. But where Thomas Edison's house was, he had a laboratory. He has his laboratory, and you can actually go into his laboratory now. Don't be disappointed, because when you go into his laboratory, what they really mean is you go in this narrow sort of corridor, and then you can look over all the barriers that they have. Obviously, they don't want you actually in the laboratory. They don't want you touching anything at all. But when you look over the barriers, and you can see all the tables, you can see all the equipment that he used, and, you know, all of that. For those of you who don't know, Thomas Edison, wasn't he the electricity guy, and he did all of that stuff? Anyways, very famous man of the century. So I went there with friends of mine, and I went to the Ford house, and I went to the Edison house, and I saw things, and I saw people, and I actually was talking to a woman who didn't have anything to do with Henry Ford's family, but in fact she was the one who owned the house before Henry Ford owned it, which was very interesting. She was able to tell us, and I'm talking about someone in the spirit world now for those of you not quite getting what I'm saying, and I was talking to her and she was telling me a lot of the history, and luckily I had the curator of this museum walking with me, and she was able to verify and to confirm that the person I was talking to was this person and lived it here and so on and so forth. She was able to confirm all the stuff that we were able to discover through talking to this ghost, who is not really a ghost at all, just a person in the spirit world, but it was a fun thing to do. So when we went to the Thomas Edison laboratory, I was just with a friend and I was interested in seeing the laboratory. You can only really see it from a distance. And there's nobody in it. You just see the tables that they work from and the equipment and all the other stuff that they use for their experimentation and so on and so forth. But as I'm standing there and looking, unexpectedly, I see this older man in amongst the desks and all the rest of it and the equipment. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, who is that? See, this is my first thought. Who are you? And he turned and he winked at me. And yes, it was Thomas Edison. So I can actually say I saw Thomas Edison in his laboratory, not for very long, and I didn't have much of a chance to talk to him. I talked to him a little bit, and that was interesting. So that's the sort of thing the out and about thing is going to be about. So if you see on YouTube, or if you hear us talking in the future now of Rosemary Out and About, you'll know that we're going to go out and about from time to time through the summer and see what we can find and see what we can discover. Now all the crowds have gone from Florida and everybody's gone back, and we don't have all the winter crowds here to interfere with us. We can actually find space in restaurants and in the historic places that are not overrun by too many crowds, and so we can do it better, which is why we've chosen the summer to do it. Carolyn's got one or two places I think in mind. Pelican Alley,
yeah, Spanish Point,
Pelican Alley, Spanish Point. I have no idea where these places are. I'm told that they're not far away, right? They're just up the road. So the only Spanish Point I've been to is the restaurant there, which is quite nice. But what else is there? If you come with us, we'll see. We'll have some spooky fun. Are we done? Do we have any more questions? Anything else anybody wants to ask? Are we done? I don't even know what the time is.
Yes. A little past 12. So
okay.
We have time if you wanted to say anything else other than that.
Yeah, I'll give you another recipe because I was going to tell you another story, and
Great.
It's a very quick, very brief story. I can make it longer, but this story is about a woman whose husband was a miner, coal miner, nice guy. Used to wear these big heavy mining boots, which he used to kick her with on a regular basis. It was nothing to him to beat her, constantly beat her. They had 2 children. The reason I got involved with them was that one of them died, unfortunately. Did it stop him beating his wife? No. Did he stop it? I mean, she would come to me sometimes sobbing, crying, and the bruises on her back were horrendous to see. This man was quite clever because he would always beat her, severely beat her, where no one could see. And she was this timid little thing. You know, she was very quiet, very timid, and made more timid because of him. So she would come to me. Every time I beat her, she would come to me and she would cry and so on and so forth, until one day I said to her, you know something, I'm giving you these recipes. I'm telling you what to do. I'm trying to help you, but you're not, you're not doing what I'm suggesting that you do. You can't keep coming to me and crying if you're not prepared to take an action yourself. So he'd beat her the night before. So I said to her, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go home. And I want you to make a nice lunch for him, because he was coming home at lunchtime. I want you to make a nice lunch for him. And I said, and then I want you to go and get a cricket bat or a baseball bat or some sort of a bat, anything. I don't care what it is or how heavy it is. And I said, you're going to make a nice lunch for him. You're going to sit down with him, but you're going to hold this bat in your hand. And then in a very calm and in a very, very, see how mean I am. I'm perfect. I'm a toughie. Very quiet and a very calm voice. You say to him, quietly and calmly, I love you very much, but I'm not going to tolerate you beating me anymore. And the next time you beat me, and then you lift up the bat and you show him the bat. You say, the next time you beat me, I'm going to wait until you're in bed. I'm going to wait until you're asleep, and then I'm going to beat you to hell with this bat. I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to hurt you. But you hurt me again. You kick me again. and I will do the same to you, but I will wait until you're asleep to do it. He never touched her again, ever. And he became actually a lovely husband, and they ended up having 2 more children, and they're really, really happy now. Sometimes you just have to stand up to bullies. Sometimes. Be careful though. I don't want you all to take the bat, because some people are in different situations where it won't work. But in this situation, I knew that it would. So.
And you should probably say you don't condone physical
And I do
violence.
not. No. I have taken an umbrella stick to 4 Welshmen at one point. I do not condone violence, but every now and again,
you got to do what you got to do.
Thank you. I was going to say it's necessary, but oh dear, that would be awful. All right, we're done. In the meantime, we're going to play you out with little music, soft, quiet music. In the meantime, if you need us, you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on meetup.com, and you can find us on YouTube, of course. And you know, we'd love your questions. We'd love your comments. Email us, Rosemary at Rosemary. I'll tell you if you've got a question, if you want to know anything, or if you just want to make a comment about the show, or if you've got ideas of where we might want to go in our Rosemary Out and About thing. So in the meantime, and thank you for joining us. In the meantime, please, 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 all of you, have a very, very blessed day.